everyone! Today I'm sewing up another BURDA pattern, a crop-style bell sleeve blouse with a back button closure. It's a super easy sew. This pattern does offer a longer hem length as well as a longer sleeve option with an elasticated cuff. I'll leave the details below if you want to check out the pattern on your own. Let's get started. You will need one front piece cut on the fold, two back pieces mirrored, two undersleeves, one button, two back facings mirrored with two matching interfacings, and one front facing cut on the fold with one matching interfacing. Fuse your interfacings to the wrong sides of their corresponding facings. With right sides together, match your facings at the shoulder seams and pin. Sew your shoulder seams using a 5/8 inch seam allowance and press the seams open. Serge or zigzag the outer edge of your facing all the way around. With your front and back pieces right sides together, pin your upper shoulder seams. Sew with a 5/8 inch seam allowance, serge the two sides of your seams separately and press them open. Serge the right and left sides of your center back seam separately. Place your facing right side together with the neckline of your bodice and pin matching shoulder seams, center front, and center backs. And now sew with a 5/8 inch seam allowance all around your neckline and down the center backs of your facing. Trim your seam allowances around the neckline. And clip your corners. And also clip into all the curves around the neckline. Place your back pieces right sides together and pin from the notch marked on your pattern all the way to the bottom of your hem. Sew with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Backstitch when you start sewing from the notch and when you get to the end of your blouse. Turn your facings to the inside of the garment. And give it a press all the way around. Also press open your back center seam. Now that our neckline is nice and pressed, take it to your machine and top stitch around the neckline about 1/8 of an inch and down the neckline center back 1/4 of an inch. For the back button loop, the instructions say to create a button loop out of thread, but instead, I'm going to create one out of a piece of scrap fabric. I cut a piece of scrap fabric measuring 2 1/4 inch by 1 inch, folding my strip in half lengthwise, folding the outside edges inward to meet the crease, and then folding all of that in half once again and pressing. Now you can take this enclosed strip to your sewing machine and sew the open edges shut. Now that I've sewn the side edges of my impromptu button loop, I'll fold it so the side edges meet and create a little loop, which I'll attach to my center back. At the top of my center back opening on the left side, I'll overlap the raw edges of my button loop by 5/8 of an inch and pin in place. Now I'll take it to my machine and sew a square formation around the entire overlapped area of my button loop. Here's what it looks like from the outside. Now you can sew your button to the top of the right center back opening. Pin your entire side seams and stitch with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Stitch your seams and then serge them together. Fold your sleeves right sides together and pin the short edges. Sew both short edges with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and serge. Fold up one long edge of your sleeve for the hem. I'm going to be pressing up 1/2 inch and doing a rolled hem. Now that we've hemmed our sleeves, we'll gather the opposite edge, first basting with the longest stitch on our machine. I pulled up my bobbin thread so I have 2 tails to begin with for gathering. I'm using a 5mm stitch length, sewing all the way around, stopping on the other end close to where I started. Leave tails on the other end also. Pull your gathering stitches until your sleeve hole is the same size as your armhole. Once they're the same size, place them right sides together, pin, sew, and serge. And the last step is to hem our blouse. Because this is a very cropped style, I'm simply going to serge the entire bottom of my blouse and press up just what I've serged, stitch that down all the way around. Thank you so much for watching this sew-along. As always, feel free to comment if you found this sew-along helpful, and share your makes with me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you sewed. See you in the next sew-along.